Okay, so first of all, I want to mention again, so we're going to finish chapter 7 chapter project today. Then next Monday, we will do the hands-on work. So you can do your chapter 7 case project. Or if you finish, I know some of you guys probably finished chapter 7 case project also. If you finish, you can start to do your final project. So, you know, if you look at the rubric of the final project, it's include everything from chapter 2 to chapter 7. So you can start to develop your final project now. So next Wednesday, you know, we still have at least 3 weeks ahead of us. So we're gonna start chapter 8. So as I mentioned to you before, this semester, I'm gonna try to make the chapter 8 as a bonus one, extra points. And next semester, I'm gonna try one more time. And then next year, I'm gonna make the chapter 8 as a required part because you know, we have plenty of time. And some of people just already finished chapter 7 and started chapter 8 already. Okay, so which means we do have time and ability to cover chapter 8. So I'm gonna try this 2 times. Then I'm gonna start to make this required. So this semester still be optional. So this semester I just let you to do the chapter 8 chapter project. Okay. So we are going to still work on the chapter 7, scuba dive. Now keep in mind, a scuba dive is, you know, you contains comma box and a list box, right? So let me open my bookshelf. I'm gonna log into my bookshelf to kind of remind you what is for that, what is for this scuba dive. To give you a better idea, maybe you forget. But if you finish, of course, you don't have to worry. But if you have not finished chapter 7 yet, it's good. It's edu. We're gonna see the first page again because the first page is what do you say? The idea of scuba dive. Okay, there's a little table tell you. Okay, so slow. So if you take a look, this chapter project is scuba dive. So we choose 3 locations from the comma box, right? Then under each location, you will have the list item, separate list item, separate list. So if I select Australia from the comma box, then under the list box, I will have 3 items, which are the Great Reef until, you know, Fathom Chasm, and each of them do have time limit. They have separate time limit. For the Great Barrier Reef is 8 hours. Tiger Shark is 6 hours. They have different time and different cost. So what we will do today is we're gonna calculate. Now, if I go to Australia and select one dive, then how much cost, right? So this is like the idea. We select the location from a combo box, then we select different dive from the list box. So we do have those 2. As you know, the final result should be like this, right? You choose from the combo box. If I choose Fiji, now which has index 2, then I will have this corresponding dive selection from the list dive. Okay, then of course each of them have different time limit and a different cost. And also we did valid number before, right? On the last class we did a valid number. So in today's class, now we will do the valid selection. Okay. Do we select the right one from our list box? Okay, so that is the general idea of this chapter project. Now let's kind of review what we have done so far. Now, if I look at my source code, Now, you know, the source code always start with a block comments. Also, if you want to spend some time to be more professional, now you should look at the end of the chapter. I think it's let me find the number of the chapter. At the end of chapter 414. Okay, 414. If you look at your book on 414, now you're gonna see a document, a project document. So as you can see here, this is a project document. So if you want to be more professional, you can create a Word document which include everything as this page show you. Okay, as you can see here, because actually I do have quite a few people who have this document with inside of their project. Okay, already. Okay, so if you want to be more professional, besides the comments inside of your project, you might want to write a Word document now, which will include those things: date, application title, what is project name, the purpose of this project, the program procedure, the algorithm, notes, and the comments. Okay, so you can start to, if you want, you know, we can, because, you know, we do have plenty of time, as you notice, right? So if you want, you can spend maybe like 30 minutes or an hour to try to write this, okay, to be more professional, okay? Because as you know, the most important part of programming is documentation. I should not say most important. One of the most important is documentation. Okay, so besides the comments, you might want to have a separate document to document like all this, like algorithm, process, condition. I see. First of all, you can see here. Step 1, the user select scuba dives location, and then step 2, when the user select location, the following item are displayed, because previously it all hide it, right? So you can hide all the item by modifying their visible property to false, right? If their visible property go to false, that means it will be disappeared. If you want them to show up, you make it visible become true, right? So that's it. And also you can see here the number in this list of this, and then the user enter number of a dive team size. Then we do that. So my suggestion is when you start to when you do your case project on your chapter 7, you start to think about this, okay? Required document. Like if you complete a document for your project 7, I mean chapter 7 case studies, I'll give you extra 5 points. Okay, so in the future, you know, we want to have a user-friendly code. So how do we do that? Adding enough documentation. Okay, documentation is very important, not only for VB, but also for Java, Python, C++. We all need documentation. Okay, so we have documentation. Now let's just spend some time to review the code. So we have option strict on. So right underneath the comments, we have option strict on. So we can minimize the logic error. For this option strict on is we can minimize logic error, because if we don't have this line, the compiler will automatically convert different number type, like from the integer to decimal, from decimal to integer. You might not want to make it happen, okay? Because generally speaking, they can easily automatically convert that type to whatever type it is supposed to be in this line. Okay. Then we have the public class. So public is access modified. So we have 2 access modified at this point. So you know in the future you will have the third one, which is called protected. The public means we can see from outside. User can see outside. So we always want the class to be public. You know, if you make a class be private, you just kind of hide the information. So what's the point? You hide this category, right? You want people to use this category. You want people to use this class. So that's why your class always be public. So publics form Scuba. So because it's a form project, so we start with the form FRM. So if you look at the appendix B, at the end of book, appendix B, it gives you the naming convention. Appendix B, which is on the page. Oh, doesn't have the page number. So, but you know, it's at the end of the book. It has appendix B, which is called naming convention. It tells you the different type of data and also different name prefixed. Okay. So we have this because this is a form application, so it's a form scuba FRM. Now we declare class variables. Now you see all the classes, all the variables we declare, they start with underline. So the underline actually has two meaning. Okay, we can use the underline in two ways. The first way is the one you see here. Okay, so if I want to declare variables for the whole class, for all the functions, all the procedures in this class, I start with underline. That means that is a class field. Okay, so like underline int 4 hours, underline int 6 hours. And also, as you can see here, so normally we want to define our class variable as, what do you say, constant number, which we don't want to modify. But you know, if you see underline, that means this is a class field. Okay, we want to define class variables as starting with underline. So always private to protect data. Now, you don't want everybody, whoever, you know, just the class field is like your social security number, okay, which belong to you. You don't want everybody come inside and modify your social security number, right? Or steal your social security number. That is why you want to protect information. You make that as private. Okay, the class field is private. You don't want anybody to modify. The only person or the only thing you can modify the class field is called the procedure of functions within the class. Just like you know, if you want, you can apply to change your social security card number, right? The only person who can modify your number, you know, is you. You apply that. Nobody else. That's why you want to make it protected. Okay, so it's private. We define those. So those are all private numbers. Now then we declare select index change. So as you can see, that is for the combo box. Okay, CBO. If it's combo box, it's the CBO. So we first of all define a integer, then we select index because the combo box does have index numbers. They are integers. The index number is from 0 to 1 to 2 until n-1. So if I have n element inside of my collection, okay, so collection can be combo box, the collection can be list box. Okay, so all of them, the combo box, list box, they're all collections. So they all has index numbers, and all the index numbers start from 0. Okay. It is not only for this language, but also for other languages. So as long as you put a bunch of elements together to make a collection, they always have an index number and start from 0. What are this index number for? To help you find the location, identify the location. Okay, so all this index number is like the reference number inside of your library. If you go to any library, you know, they have thousands, 10,000 books, right? And they do have a serial number to associate with. Those serial numbers, they are index numbers to help you to find where is book, right? So the index for combo box, the index for list box do the same thing. Okay, help you identify where's the location. Then also we learn very interesting statement by using select case. Now select case allow us to select one item. I mean, makes selection choice, multiple choice. Okay, so we can, if you want, we can replace the select case with nested if. If else statement is a, you know, if I use one single if else, I make two choices. If I make multiple if else, I can have multiple choices. So I can rewrite select case if I want. But the thing is, if it's only integer index, we use a select case, it will be more clear, easier to understand. But you know, if I use a if else statement, nested if else statement is probably too hard and confused. Okay, so the select case, normally we want use as an integer label. As you can see here, select case behind it is int location choice. Okay, then we just compare what is int location choice, the index number from the combo box. So if it's case 0, we call Australia team, which means later I'm going to add items into the list box. Now, if we choose BLives, then we call BLives team, which we add items to the list box under. Case 2, we add widget team, which have 3 choices because each location provide different dive service, right? Also, besides we make choices of our combo locations, we make all the items visible. You can see here. How do we make them visible? By modifying the tools visible property to become true, right? And here, clear the label. How do we clear label? If we clear the label, the LBL, if it's a label, you just assign an empty string and become empty. So we have learned this in chapter 3 or chapter 2. Now, if you want, you can go back to check the content. So, you know, for computer programming, it's an accumulation process. So even though we are in chapter 7, we still will, you know, use all the knowledge we learn from 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, then text team dot focus. We move our cursor back to the text box. So Australia team, we add the content, right? Widget team, etc. But last time we know, if I want to call the, you know, click dive cost button, it will calculate the, it should calculate the cost, right? And display as a result. So in order to have a cost, to calculate cost, this is what we did last time. So dive into team size equal to integer. We have this one, Boolean number is valid or not. Then Boolean dive is selected. We selected the dive from our list box. Also is the int dive choice integer and in the location choice integer. And also we initialize the length equal to 0. And we have a decimal total cost calculation. Now we, as you can see here, we have called 2 outside functions to help us identify is our number typed in the text box valid or not, right? Is the number inside of the text box valid or not? How do we know it's valid or not? We want the numbers between 2 and 6, right? If it's a number between 2 and 6, it's valid. Okay. So we call this previous, you know, outside function to do that, to help us do that. And also we call another function to help us to say, to select the dive from the list drive. Keep in mind, we have 2 objects from the 2 box. One is combo box, one is list box. Those 2 are selections. One is for the location, one is for the different type of dive. Now we're gonna say, do we select the valid dive from our list box? If so, then everything should be okay. Then we say here, now if Boolean list number in term is valid, which means if I type the number between 2 and 6 inside of my text box, and also I select the dive from the list box, then what we will do is we convert the list box number into integer, because whatever you type inside should be string type. So you call to convert to int 32, and then you make selections, combo select index this, you know, because each item in the combo box, they are associated with a number which is indexed from 0 to 1 to 2. So as you can see here, we make select case. So the benefit of using select case over nested if is very clear, but they do have disadvantage. The disadvantage is it's only for integral type. Okay, case 0, case 1, case 2. In the future, you have character A, case A, case B, case C, something like that. You cannot just say, you cannot have a complicated condition. So if you have a complicated condition, then you can only use if-else statement. So if I want to represent a range, so within a range, I can do this action. Within this range, I can do the other action. Within another range, I can do the other action. So the select case cannot do that. Okay, select case can only do the integral type, like integers or characters. So if I have a range, for example, if I have your grade, if I want to give you a grade, if your grade is between 80 and 90, I give you a B. If your grade is between 90 to 100, I give you A. So if you, it's like a typical programming question. So based on what your grade is, right? The range. So the condition will be a range instead of just a number. So which means your select case cannot do that. Okay. But if it's only handled integers or a single characters, then select case is easier than the if-else statement. It's clear. Now next one is you want to display the result. As you can see, how do we display the result? We assign the string to the text property by using the ampersand. What is ampersand? You learn in the chapter 4, which is string concatenation. If you combine two strings together, you use the ampersand. So we have this. Okay, decimal cost to string C. What is C? This means currency, right? You have $sign in front. So you can convert a decimal number to a string by using this number dot to string C. That is convert to the currency. Now here, the length int length hours. Next part is we value number in terms in team as a Boolean. So you want the range to be between 2 and 6. As you can see, besides we enter those define those local variables, we use a try and a catch. So this is the one thing we learned last time. Now try a block of statement which might have error. Okay, so which means between try and catch. So this block of comments, they might have possible issue. That is why you start with try. Now, if you think everything's okay, why you use try, right? Try this comments. It might have potential errors. Okay. Then if I do have potential errors, then what happens is I will catch the errors. So we do have a bunch of errors list. So you match, you're gonna match what kind of error you have. So if I type what do you say? A letter A, B, C, D, F, G, which cannot convert to the integer, then it will match format exception. Then it will display this box, okay, and also focus on the makes the cursor back to the text box and also clear the one. The other one is overflow. What is overflow? We mentioned now if it's too big outside the range, then we can have this one, right? For example, if you assign a huge number to an integer type, you have an overflow. Okay. Now, besides format exception and overflow, and the most common one is system exception. Okay, all the other mistakes you catch will be this. And we know in the book it shows you 6 most popular exceptions. And you're gonna see. Okay, besides that, we do have a lot of exceptions. Now, in the future, if you learn Java class, they will have exactly the same thing. Okay, try catch. Try this, but then you're gonna learn try catch in Java 2, 128. Okay, try this bunch of code, which might have issue, which means if it doesn't have issue, if there's nothing wrong, then I will catch nothing, right? I don't need to worry about anything. Okay, so it might have error, it might not. Okay, hopefully you guys don't want to have the errors, right? So if we don't have errors, then we just go to the return statement, return the check which is true, right? You want to make it valid or not. If it's valid, it's true. If it's not valid, it's not true. Okay. So another one is valid type selection. Now we did last class, and we also use try catch. Okay. Now this is a variable Okay, variable dimension, because different type of variable do occupy different amount of memory space. That is why we use DIM, variable dimension. Okay, int type as integer, which means this variable is occupy 4 bytes. We try this. Try int type convert to int. What does this mean? So we're gonna select whatever we select to the integer. Okay, the list of type. So if I select Australia, I should have 3 items in my list box, right? If I select Fiji, it has 2. Okay, so anyway, so we have that. So we select int type. A string type is whatever. If I select this item, like the first one is what? Is the first one? The first one is Great Barrier Reef. Then this is the object. So actually, all the items inside of my list box, at this point, it's just a string. But generally speaking, in the future, you will know it can be any object. So I use list type dot select item to string to make sure it is string. We use this, we call to string to make sure it's string. Then Boolean type equal to true. Okay, because we want to make sure, do you select the value or not? Then caption. If we have any error, if anything happen, if anything wrong happen, it tells you. You might not select the list. What happens is, the very common case is after you select a location from the combo box, you just click, the dive cost directly without doing anything. Okay. Now here's the thing again. Some people are in programming. We have a name convention. Okay. You have to think about. You have to consider what is name convention, like some kind of rule or some time like by default, some kind of rules. Everybody need to follow. Okay. But even if you don't follow, you won't have any syntax error. So for example, when we declare variables, we want give a meaningful name, right? We don't want X, Y, Z as variables. So that's like a default rules, like make it user friendly. So we have a bunch of rules, naming convention. So I found a topic for you guys right here. As you can see, Visual Basic naming conventions. The following suggestions apply to naming. First of all, being each separate word in the name with a capital letter as find last record or red draw by form. So I'm gonna put this link inside of your module 7 so you can read the idea. Okay, so just most likely in all the program languages, they have their own name convention. Okay, so you might want like make every first letter, a word's first letter be uppercase, or you might want to start a second one. Either way is okay. Okay, but you have to provide meaningful name, and also most likely, as you can see here, being function and method name start with a verb. Okay, like initiate name array, close dialogue or something. So you want to, if you name a function, you want to start with a verb. If you have a begin a class, a structure, module, or property with a noun, like employee name or car accessory, being interface name with the prefix I. So as you can see here, this is a name convention which we suggest you to follow. The reason we say we suggest is because even if you don't follow, you have nothing to lose. I mean, it will compile, right? But it's not a good program. Okay, so start from day one. You want to be a good programmer, so you should follow these name conventions. Okay, and for some programming languages, the way you name variable is similar to the way you name a method, a function. So how do you know which one is which? So that is why now, even if your function or procedure do not need any parameter. You still need empty parenthesis to tell them that is a function. That is not a variable, that is a function. That is why no matter you have parameter or not, you always need to have a parenthesis to cover it, like toString. Okay. Now this is what we had learned. So in today's class, it will be quite easy. We're gonna just finish this these three, as you can see here: Australia dive cost, Belize type cost, and Fiji dive cost. After we select these three functions, we're gonna just do one more for the bottom clear. So we're done. Okay, so very easy. So we have to do 4 more things. Okay, so as you can see, now if we define a function as Australia dive cost, they do have 3 parameters. 1, 2, 3. Right? We do need 3 parameters. Now the difference between by reference and by val is, now, if you do have parameter inside of your function header or procedure header, now we have 2 different type of way you pass value. One called by value, one called by reference. The big difference is by reference is allow you to access the original memory space. You can modify the original variable. Okay, by doing that, you can just kind of like return value back to your class. Okay, whatever you did that is leave behind. That is by ref. You see, if you do by ref, you can just access the original copy and modify it. But if I do by value, which most likely people like to do the by default, most of, if you don't match anything, is by value. It's the easiest and the basic one, because by value is like you instead of you share your original location, your memory space, you just send a copy of value to this pass to this function. So whatever's happened to the copy will not affect to the other one, because it is 2 separate units. So whatever they have done in the copy does not affect the original copy. So let's see here. So the next few functions, where was it? Which is Australia dive cost, Belize dive cost, Fiji cost. So they all need 3 variables. You see here, int dive cost, int size, int length. They all should be by value, which you use by val. Okay, so let's start from the first part. I know most of you guys are already finished, but stay with me. Okay, so then this one is a private function. Now we're gonna do this. I'm gonna copy this number, so just in case if I don't spell right. So Australia cost, Control C, Control V, Australia dive cost. Now we have 3 variables, right? So we're gonna type by val, by variable, which is the first one, int dive, as integers, to tell you, okay, what kind of what type of this. Now in the future, for other languages, you don't have to do that. The other one's by val, int kim as integer. The other one, okay, this, which means you want to change the value. So that's one is by reference. By reference, I'm gonna have a space. By reference, this one is int time as integer. And then the whole thing you write as decimal. Okay, so if I see that, it means this Australia dive cost will have 3 parameters, and it has a return value, which is a decimal number. Lucas, what are you doing? What's on your screen? Why don't you do a project? So we have that. Now, Let's see comments. This function calculates the cost of the dive team in Australia, because Australia, if you select Australia, they have 3 different dive with 3 different price and 3 different time slot. So we're going to define variables here. The first one we define is the decimal team cost, like each one of them times the amount of people, right? That team cost as decimal. Okay. Decimal here, and we define another one, the final cost, total decimal team cost and the final cost. Okay, like the final cost will be like the team cost, like how many people you have, time, the price, right? Because you do have different price. So final cost, oh, sorry, not final cost, decimal final cost is a DEC prefix, decimal final cost as decimals. Okay, decimal final cost. Now we have that, and then we define the 3 different prices: 350, 200, and 155. So we define the first one, decimal Australia. Where dive 1, the first dive, which is grade something, as decimal, and your price is $359 or $359 per person. So because it's decimal, so what you can do is you can put uppercase behind it, uppercase D behind it, to tell that is a decimal. So that is this one. The other one is because the number you have is 355 is an integer. So you want to make it as a decimal. You want to tell the compiler that is a decimal. So you put a D behind it. The other one is decimal. John, do you fall asleep? We have another one, dive decimal Australia. Dive 2 as decimal equal to the other price, which is 200K, 200D. And another DD decimal Australia dive 3 as decimal equal to 225D. Okay, so we define those local variables. Keep in mind, all the local variables we defined between private function and the AND function. Those are only for this function. Okay, so once you finish this function, they will not have any of these 5 locations, 5 variables. So the local variables lifespan is very, very short. Only exists in milliseconds when you call this function. Only when you call the function, they have these 3 variables. That is why we like to have as many local variables as possible. Because if you declare class variables, it will stay there forever. I mean, as long as you have object from the class, you stay there forever. Now we do the select case again. Okay. Select case. Keep in mind, the select case is like multiple choice or nested if-else statement. Okay, but it's better than nested if you choose integers. If your labels are integers. So what is label? The value behind the case. So the value behind the case called label. So if your label is integer or characters, then your select case is much easier. But if you do the complicated one, then the select case cannot handle. Okay, so select case can only handle easy multiple choice questions like this one. So we can, if it's case 0, index 0, then what we'll do? That with a different price. Decimal team cost equal to decimal Australian dive. I dive 1 actually. Then int time is equal to the what do you say, the class field, which is starting from here, from underline, int 8 hours. Now, if we choose the other case, if it's case 1, then you have different cost. Then the decimal team cost will be equal to decimal Australia dive 2. And then int time equal to 6 hours, which is equal to underline int 6 hours. We have case 2. Oh, that's a decimal team cost equal to decimal Australia 3, dive 3, and int time equal to how many hours? 4 hours. Int 4 hours. Okay, keep in mind, if I see this, oh, I forgot, I forgot to mention this one. So as I mentioned to you before, this underline means 2 things, can do 2 things. The first thing is if you put underline in front of a variable, it's just kind of tell you, okay, that is a class variable, which can be used in all procedures or functions. But sometimes your statement is way too long. If your statement is way too long, you might want your statement start from next line. So how do you let compiler know these 2 lines belong to the same statement? By using underline, combine them together. Okay, that is the use of this underline. Either you declare a class variable, or you combine 2 or 3 lines into one statement. We have this, so we based on this selection statement, we have these values. So next part is we're gonna do the calculation. So decimal final cost. What will be the final cost? The final cost will be the team cost, different type of cost times the amount of people. So it will be decimal team cost multiply asterisk int team. And after we finish, we have to do return the value, because the function header, we have the function name as decimal. So you're gonna return this. What do you return? Definitely decimal final cost, right? So return decimal final cost. That's it. That is for this function. So we're gonna do the same thing for the other 2, right? Because each location have their own price. But if I go back to the first page of the book, which is page 9. So again, you're gonna refer the information as in the first page of this book, I mean this section, which is page 384. Okay, if you look at page 384, see the table here. Now each location, they have their different time slot and a different price. The Beeline is cheaper. They only have two. It's 200 and 150. So you know you have one last choice, right? Because you only have one choice. Case 0 and the case 1. You only have two choices for the Beeline. So I'm gonna write the Beeline one. Also, if you have any question, please ask me. Okay, so we have this function. I'm gonna start the private function for the Life cost. Okay, so we have type private function. And if we want to make sure there's no spelling error, so I can just go to here and copy this line. As you can see, it will be the same as the Australia dive cost, three of them. The first two is by value, which is you send a copy. The second last one, int length. You might want them to be able to modify value. We have this function, realize dive cost, and we do the same thing. The first two will be by value, which is the int dive cost. Just the header is just like Australia. So if you want, you can even copy and paste. So I'm gonna copy and paste for the third one. Integer. Then by val this time by val. The next one is int team as integer. Also, I know some of you guys finished this long time ago. So if you finish the chapter 7, you can send in. I think in the Dropbox open, and don't forget to do the chapter 7 quiz. Last one is by reference. Is int as integer. Okay. As decimal. So you also want to return what? Return a final cost, which is decimal value. So it's as decimal. Okay. And for this one is this function calculate the cost of the dive team in Reliance. Okay, I will do. So here we're gonna still have to mention these two things. Okay, so actually, if you want, we can copy from here. Okay, and we're gonna modify from here. Okay, I'm gonna copy the first four line from the Australia dive. Okay, because the same thing. Okay, I'm gonna copy this because you still need to have the team cost, final cost. But the dive 1, 2, it's different. So this one you're gonna modify because this is Beeline. So dive 1, which is different value. I think it's 200. It's cheaper. And this one, and the dive Beeline dive 2, which is even cheaper, which is 150. And then you're gonna do exact same thing. You know what? I can just again copy and paste. For this one, I only need what do you say? 2 cases because I only have 2 choices. I can just you know what? I just copy the whole thing, whole selection statement. You know what? I just copy the whole thing. Okay, it's easier. Just copy the whole thing, Control C, and paste right here. Okay, return function. I'm gonna get rid of the return function. I don't need a return function. Now I'm gonna get rid of the case 2 because your Beeline only have 2 choices. I'm gonna modify here. Wait a second. Okay, delete. So I can modify. If I choose case 0, that is Beeline dive 1. Which is also 8 hours. Beeline dive 2, which is also 6 hours. then you see the final cost will still be decimal team cost times the int cost. So you can see most likely the same. So if I do the Fiji one, I'll just copy and paste again and modify a little bit. But keep in mind, what is Fiji one? If you go to the textbook, the Fiji one is back to 3 choices, 8, 6, 4, and then they have 280, 225, and $200. So we can just still copy the first function and modify a little bit to make it a Fiji dive cost. So, okay. So if you have any question, you can ask me. You know, so a lot of times when you do the coding, you know, you just copy and paste and modify a little bit to make it your time much shorter. Any question, guys? Gavin, do you have any question?
No.
I'm gonna do the next one, which is Fiji. Okay, I will do exact same thing as I do that. So what I will do is I'm gonna copy the whole function of Australia dive cost, because for the Fiji one, I also have 3 choices. The only difference is the name of the different dives. Instead of a decimal Australia dive one, I should make it a decimal Fiji dive one, and the price is different. Everything else very, you know, the whole structure is very similar. Because the whole structure is very similar, so I'm just gonna go to the end function and copy and paste right here. And also you're gonna modify the comment. So of course, okay, start from the first one. The function is Fiji dive cost, and also we have int dive, int team, and int time, and also it's also decimal. And this function is to calculate the cost of dive in Fiji. And we do have those, and we do have 3 choices. So I change all the Australia to Fiji right here. So you can see sometimes you just Control-C, Control-V. Now if you use Mac computer, it's a different comment. I think maybe Command-C, Command-V. Okay, Fiji dive cost. I what? Okay, it's given name, different name. Oh, I see here. Let's give you a different name. Belize 4. Here, I tell you, Belize 4, 5. But actually, you don't have to change because you can tell the difference. This is 4 and 5. Now this one give you a different name. Fiji dive 6, and Fiji dive, which is 6, which is the value. How much is this? 200. Next one is decimal Fiji 7. Fiji 7. And you will have decimal, which is 225. Another one is Fiji 8. What is decimal? Why is 2, 3, 4, 6? Why is the name different? Okay, so name is 2. It's like when it makes this name doesn't make sense. This one is Fiji dive 6. Why is 6? Oh. So it's 220 and then what? 200 again. You don't have to make it like a decimal Fiji 236. I don't understand why they make this one. But this idea is the prices, the price, you sign the price 200, 255, and 1200. Then you have a int dive, which is what is index numbers. Then do the calculation. So all this calculation will be different. Decimal team cost will be Fiji dive 2, which is 8 hours. Then this is Fiji dive 3. which is 6 hours. And this will be Fiji dive 6. It just doesn't make sense. Actually, the name of this doesn't make sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or maybe like it's different numbers. Who knows? So we have that, and everything else stays the same. Decimal final cost equal to decimal team cost times number. So this is this is for Fiji dive cost. See, we have a team cost, then we have final cost, like this. To be honest, if you make the decimal team Fiji dive 1 and 2 and 3, it won't have any difference because they can separate from from the rest of the team by using decimal BG. Okay, so that is this idea. Any question, guys? Any question? Okay, so we have 2 more to do. Okay, we finished this one. Now we have 2 more to do. So this we calculated the thing. As you can see right now, we have no underline across the whole program at this point. So far, everything's good. So what we should do is we're going to add a function, a procedure for button clear. If I click the clear button, what should we do? So we go to the form. Okay, so double click the clear button. Okay, so it give you button clear. Now, what is the button clear do? Of course, from the name, you clear out everything. Make everything disappear. Make all the labels disappear and make the text box clear up everything. So we're gonna do this. Give a comment. Now this event handler clears the form and resets the form for reuse. When the user clicks the clear button. So what we do, first of all, we make the combo box display the default string, which is a select location. So it's a CBO combo location dot text equal to a select location. Oh, sorry, select locations. Okay, so this is the one. And we have the text box clear. So if you have a text box, you can just call the clear function, clear partnership. Okay, you keep in mind the partnership means that is a function. Okay, keep in mind, most likely the way you name a variable or a function are the same. So how can you tell that is a variable or a function? By looking at the partnership. If they have empty partnership or they have anything within the partnership behind it, you know that is a procedure or a function. If you don't have partnership, that means that is a variable. Okay. John, are you sleepy? So we have that, and we can clear the item, list item, because we want to clear out everything. List dive dot items dot clear again. So which means we clear out the collection to make it empty because next time when you make the combo choice again, the choice from the combo box again, it will have separate teams. Now, but if you have a label for the final result, you display your final result with 3 labels, right? For the labels, you don't have a clear function, so you have to use a assign empty string. So for the label LBL cost, okay, let's start LBL scuba dive dot text equal to empty string. Then LBL cost dot text equal to empty string again. Now the next one LBL length dot text equal to empty string again. So it's like a clear label. So label do not have clear function. So the way you clear the label is different. You have to assign an empty string to that. The next one is if you want all the other label disappear, so you're gonna have to make it visible. Okay. You want, besides you empty those, you have to make the visibility become false. So LBL team dot visible equal to false. And the next one is text box you want display. I mean, you want disappear. You want nothing on your choice. False. And you want LBL select dot visible equal to false. Now you want to have text team dot visible equal to false. You want LBL select. We have LBL select false, text team false. List with a list drive also false. LST list dive dot visible equal to false. And then select. So I did text box or text team already. So this one is done. I should not have this one here. Select list dive. Then we have button cost, button out. Sorry, we have button display, button clear, button dive cost dot visible equal to false. You just hide everything until you click button calculate, then everything show up. Until you select the bottom combo box, then everything show up. Bottom dive cost equal to the false, and also bottom clear visible equal to false. Now we have the last real result. LBL Google Dive. If you, this is for result display. This one will be false. LBL cost dot visible equal to false. And LBL length dot visible equal to false. And stop. Okay, so we have that. So that is this one. We still, if you look at the book, we still have one more same method. It's like a hold the splash screen, because if we don't do anything, the splash screen will go for 1 second. So in order to hold the splash screen, which is the initial screen you run the code, we had to call a private function as a private sub, sorry. From scuba load. You know what? I can't, let me see. I'm gonna go back to this one from scuba dive. I'm gonna double click the form outside. If I double click, I will have this. So you don't have to really type it, because that is like when I try to run the form, what is the thing I should do? So all I have to do is I go to the user interface and double click the form. So it will show me, it will generate the procedure header. Now this procedure header to do what? We just do one thing. Hold the splash screen. So hold the splash screen for 5 seconds. Because by default, it's just a millisecond for something. So to do that, we have one existing function we call the threading dot thread dot sleep for 500. 5,000 because each one is a millisecond. So 5,000 millisecond is this. So that is this. So this is like a splash screen. So this idea actually is at the beginning of this chapter 7. It tells you if you have a flash, a flash screen, which we learn. It is new stuff, and also you should have this one inside of your. You should have this one inside your final project. Okay, one of your rubric is to add a flash screen. Now we have this. When you type the thread from the IntelliSense, so by default is 5,000 millisecond, which is 5 seconds, which is this one. Now if you finish, we can type around. So if I click start, okay, it pop up the screen for 5 seconds, and then it disappear for 5 seconds. Then you have this. Everything is unloaded. Is unable to see. Only after you select from combo box. So if I select from Fiji, okay, then you choose number of team. So if I type a number 1, then I choose this choice, click the choice. As you can see here, it tells you this is exception. Outside range tells you, okay, enter the number within your team. So that means you're gonna choose maybe a type 3. Then I select tiger shark, that cost tiger shark. So if I click clear, which means it's ready for the next input. So everything will back to normal, back to the original setting. Only the combo box waiting for you to type. So if I choose Australia, as you can see here, the things inside of the list box is different. Now I can type. If I type A, that is a format error. So that's format exception. If I choose A, it's format exception, then it will give me also an error message by using try catch. Okay, so you can try to play with that. So we finished typing all the chapter 7 project. Any questions so far? If you have any question, please ask me so we can move on. We have plenty of time. I hope you have a strong foundation. So next semester, I can see you in other programming classes. Okay, so everything you have learned will benefit you for your future programming study. Any questions? Now, if you don't have questions, right now it's 12:17, so you can do the case project. So I'm going to turn on the light and you can start to do the case project. Okay.